Alright everyone, welcome to the stream. If you're here right now because you've ever left a conversation feeling confused, guilty, or like you were slowly losing your mind, you are in the right place. My name is Sean, and for the next hour and 15 minutes we are going deep into dark psychology and manipulation tactics, the hidden strategies some people use to control others without them realizing what's happening until it's too late. Here's something I want you to sit with for a second. Most people who get manipulated aren't weak. They aren't stupid. They aren't naive. In fact, it's usually the opposite. The people who get targeted the hardest are the ones who are the most loyal, the most forgiving, and the most willing to give someone the benefit of the doubt. If that's you, I want you to know right now, this isn't a flaw. It's actually a strength that someone else learned how to exploit. And by the end of this stream, that's going to change. Online searches for manipulation tactics have jumped 67% since 2023. People are waking up. They're tired of walking on eggshells. They're tired of second-guessing themselves. They're tired of feeling crazy in relationships where, deep down, they know something isn't right. And today we're going to give you the exact tools to recognize these tactics in real time so you can protect yourself. Before we go any further, if this topic hits home even a little, I want you to do two things right now. First, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We're going to be doing deep dives like this regularly, and the next one builds directly on what we cover today. Second, drop a 1 in the chat if you've ever been manipulated and didn't realize it until months later, sometimes even years later. I want to see how many of us are in this together, because I promise you, you are not alone in this chat right now. Let me be very clear about something from the start, because I take this seriously. We are not here to teach you how to manipulate people. We are here to teach you how to stop being manipulated. Everything we cover today is for defense only. If you already know these tactics because someone used them on you, this stream is going to feel like turning the lights on in a room you've been standing in the dark in for years. Over the next 75 minutes, we're going to break down the most common and damaging manipulation tactics used in relationships, friendships, families, and even workplaces. For each one, I'll give you real-life examples, the psychology behind why it works, the warning signs, and most importantly, the exact phrases and strategies you can use to defend yourself. This isn't theory. This is practical armor you can start using today, in your next conversation, with whoever comes to mind right now, as you're watching this. Type in the chat right now, which tactic do you want me to cover first? I'll take the most requested ones, and go deep. And while you're typing that, let's talk about what dark psychology actually is, because I think a lot of people misunderstand it. Dark psychology is the study of how people deliberately use psychological principles to influence, control, and exploit others for their own benefit, often at the expense of the other person's mental health and self-trust. The key word here is deliberate. This isn't someone who's just bad at communication. This is someone who has learned, whether consciously or through years of getting away with it, that certain behaviors create confusion, guilt, or emotional dependency in the people around them. And they use those behaviors on purpose, over and over, because they work. What makes these tactics so effective is that they don't come from nowhere. They exploit normal, healthy human needs. The need to be loved, the need to be understood, the fear of abandonment, the desire for closure, the hope that people will change if we just love them enough or explain ourselves clearly enough. Manipulators weaponize these very human traits against you. They're not creating new weaknesses in you. They're finding the ones that already exist in all of us and pressing on them, again and again. Here's the part that hurts the most, and I want to say this slowly because it matters. The people who fall for these tactics the hardest are usually the most empathetic, the most forgiving, and the most willing to see the good in others. If you're sitting there thinking, why does this always happen to me? It's not because something is wrong with you. It's because your empathy is being used as a weapon against you, and once you see that clearly, you can start protecting the very thing that makes you a good person without losing it. The goal of today's stream is simple. By the end of this, you will be able to recognize these patterns faster, respond more effectively in the moment instead of freezing up, and stop blaming yourself when someone else's behavior is the actual problem. Let's start with the most common and damaging tactic of them all, one almost everyone in this chat has experienced in some form, even if they didn't have a name for it until right now. Gaslighting is when someone makes you question your own memory, perception, or sanity. The term comes from a 1944 movie Gaslight, where a husband slowly convinces his wife she's going crazy by dimming the gas-powered lights in their home, and then denying that the lights are changing at all when she brings it up in real life. Gaslighting is much more subtle and much more common than a movie plot. It doesn't announce itself. It creeps in one small denial at a time. Let me give you a few real scenarios because I think examples make this click faster than definitions ever could. Scenario 1. Your partner flirts with someone right in front of you at a party. You feel that pit in your stomach, that instinct that says something's wrong. When you bring it up on the way home, they say, "I have no idea what you're talking about. You're always so insecure. I was literally just being polite. Why you always make everything about you?" Over time, hearing this enough times, you start wondering if you really are too sensitive. You start doubting the very instinct that was trying to protect you. Scenario 2. You clearly remember your friend promising to help you move on a specific date. You even remember where you were standing when they said it. When the day comes and they don't show up, they say, "I never said that. You must have misunderstood me. I've been telling you for weeks I was busy that day." You start questioning whether you really heard what you thought you heard, even though your gut tells you that you didn't misunderstand anything. Scenario 3. At work, your boss takes credit for your idea in a meeting, in front of everyone. When you bring it up privately afterward, feeling proud of yourself for even saying something, they say, "Wow, I think you're remembering that wrong. I was the one who came up with that. You were just in the room when we discussed it." You leave the conversation feeling like you're losing your grip on reality, and worse, like you're the difficult one for even bringing it up. This is why gaslighting is so dangerous. It doesn't just hurt your feelings in the moment, it erodes your trust in your own mind over time, which is exactly what makes you easier to control going forward. Once someone convinces you that your perception can't be trusted, they don't have to work as hard to control the narrative anymore. You start doing it for them. Common gaslighting phrases you'll hear, and I want you to actually listen for these in your own life, starting today. That never happened. You're too sensitive. I think you're remembering it wrong. You always do this, make everything about you. You're crazy. I was just joking, calm down. Warning signs you're being gaslit. You constantly apologize even when you know, deep down, that you didn't do anything wrong. You feel like you have to keep screenshots or notes of conversations just to prove to yourself later that something actually happened. You start second-guessing your own memory on a regular basis, even about small things. You feel like you're walking on eggshells around this person, constantly monitoring your own words before you say them. How to defend yourself against gaslighting. First, stop trying to convince them of your reality. That's exactly what they want, a long, exhausting argument where you're proving yourself instead of addressing the actual issue. Instead, use calm, neutral statements like, "We clearly remember this differently. Let's move on. I'm not interested in debating what happened. I know what I experienced. I'm going to trust my own memory on this one." Second, document everything. Keep receipts. Save messages. Write down dates and times if needed, even in a private note on your phone. This isn't paranoia, it's protection, and it's evidence for you, not for them. Third, get outside validation from people you trust. Gaslighters isolate you, often slowly and without you noticing, so that you only have their version of events to compare your own perception against. Rebuilding that outside perspective is one of the most powerful things you can do. Drop in the chat right now. Have you ever been told you're too sensitive? I want to see how many of us have heard that exact phrase because I already know the answer is going to be a lot of you. Let's move to the second tactic.